Hello, friends and neighbors and fellow spiritual travelers. I am here with something that I have never, ever done before. This is in celebration of my new tarot deck, the Vitamin Joy Tarot. It's a box I designed, and I have my deck right here. Check out the back. Okay. So what I'm going to do for the first time ever is I'm going to do a reading for the Zodiac signs. Today is Friday, June 20th, and we are at the summer solstice. We're also at that time of year where we shift from Gemini into Cancer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a reading for each zodiac sign. I'm going to pull a tarot card for each zodiac sign. So listen to that sign. Now, a couple of things that I want you to know is I call it the Vitamin Joy Tarot deck for a couple of reasons. The first one is that I'm a big proponent in vitamin joy. So the world that we all live in will bring us stress and trauma and turmoil and chaos without us ever asking for it. It will cross our path. Now, joy is something that's not like that. Joy is something that we have to actively pursue like a vitamin, or all the trauma and turmoil and chaos that we get exposed to will leave us feeling bitter and jaded, disgusted, bitchy. And that's not the way that we are supposed to live. So I want you to see this as an opportunity to go and get your joy. Now, one of the things that people don't know about tarot cards is that they started out as a game in the 1400s in Italy. It was actually a game called Tarocchi, and this was a game that people could still play today, but it wasn't a system of cards built around divination or fortune telling. That is something that happened in the 17 to 1800s. So joy, being that it was a game, is part of its roots. And I think that tarot is something that we can all turn to. Even the rough cards, we can turn to them to find balance. And balance should, depending on how far we're out of balance, bring us joy. So I want to give anybody watching this joy today with these readings. The other thing that I want you to know about the Zodiac is this. Here's something that a lot of people don't know. It wasn't until the 1930s that people really cared about your sun sign. So it was, I think, in the 1930s that somebody put the Zodiac in the newspaper, and they did it with the sun signs. When somebody asks you what your Zodiac sign is, they'll ask you, or they'll tell you what their sun sign is. That really wasn't a thing for, not even 100 years ago. Prior to that, what people really wanted to know and what they really cared about was what's called your ascendant or your rising sign. Now, the ascendant and the rising sign is what constellation was rising in the east at the time of your birth. Now, here's the difference. The sun sign is the core part of you. It's like your identity. But your rising sign or your ascendant sign is how you present to the world. You can find this out by going to a website like astro.com. There's plenty of websites out there that you can plug in your birth information. You got to know what time you were born to find out what your ascendant sign is. Now, an interesting thing is that my sun sign is Pisces and my husband's sun sign is Cancer. His birthday's coming up in July. But I'm a Leo rising. I'm a Leo ascendant, and he's a Virgo ascendant or Virgo rising. Our relationship, sure, can be explained with Pisces and Cancer, but what really explained our dynamics was the Leo and the Virgo. Because, man, that's really, really what explains the both of us as we come together as a unit. I also pay attention to the moon sign. I'm a Gemini moon, and that's more of my emotional self or my inner world. So those three signs are something that, you want to pay attention to if you know them. Your sun sign, your rising sign, and your moon sign. And then there's all sorts of other stuff in your chart. But when I look at a zodiac sign or a horoscope, I always look at my sun sign, Pisces. I look at my ascendant, Leo. And I sometimes even read what my moon sign is, Gemini. So let's get into it. And to honor our shift into Cancer season, we are going to read for Cancers first. And I'm just going to read... Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fan this deck out in front of me, and I'm just going to go... I thought I was going to do the cards. I thought I was going to split the deck and do it sequentially. But for Cancers, here we go. The card that we have for you, oh my gosh, the Seven of Pentacles. So I love this card because I get a thing for 4-leaf clovers. So remember, these are cards that I designed. So here's the Seven of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles is all about patience. It's all about working and harvesting. It is a card of appreciation of the self for me. To look around and to take in the fruits of your life. You know, look at what you've built in your life. Have appreciation for all of the forces that have come into your life. But to have appreciation for yourself. Because all of those things that you appreciate in your life, I don't think a majority of them happened by accident. I think that they were cultivated by you. I also think, you know, Cancers, generally really giving, really selfless people, I don't think that they see all that they bring to the world. That's probably true for all of us, but Cancers are like my favorite people, or one of my favorite people. And they absolutely should appreciate what they bring to the world and what they cultivate. And it's also a sign of patience, because I know that, you know, you've got patience, and the Pentacles have taught me that, in the way that we have to be patient with the things that we're building. You know, the Grand Canyon was carved over millions of years. We're in the earthly realm. You know, corn will only grow at a certain rate, but it's not complacent. You got to be patient, but you can't be complacent. You got to nurture your goals along and understand that there are other forces that are intersecting with them as well. So for our Cancers, we have the Seven of Pentacles. Here we go with Leo. Leo has the Ten of Cups. Okay. Leo, I want to know what brings you emotional fulfillment. Now, this is a funny thing because this is my card of the month. In December, between Christmas and New Year's, I do a wheel of the year for myself. And this is the card for my month. So, Leo, you know, like I'm a Leo rising, a big liony, roaring energy. The Ten of Cups card is one of that emotional fulfillment, sort of like a happily ever after. And that doesn't necessarily mean the classic type of happily ever after, you know, the 2.5 kids and the white picket fence. This can be whatever, you know, whatever you want it to be. I kind of think of this as like the crazy cat lady card. You know, if you want to like be the crazy cat lady and have 1 million cats in your house, and that's just what brings you happiness in this world, then, you know, fill your boots, get it. So the Ten of Cups for our Leos really reminds us that we are responsible for that. And we've got to, you know, just like the Seven of Pentacles taught us, we've got to nurture it along. And I just keep getting this theme of like, we can't expect that happily ever after to land in our lap. You know, don't wait around for your fairy godmother to give you what you're waiting for. Nurture it, you know, co-create with reality. Co-create with reality. It is definitely a card of rainbow energy, which is appropriate for Pride Month. All right, let's dive in to our Virgos. Virgo, look at my lover's card. Eggs and bacon. All right. Then we got our little angel up there, little Cupid, making them see what they need to see in each other. So the Lover's card is a card, you know, I love it. It's probably, you know, really good with that Virgo energy. It is something about, you know, there's something about connection here. There is something about, of course, love here. But for me, the Lover's card really talks about loving oneself. Not being in love with oneself, but loving oneself, nurturing oneself, caring for oneself, finding that self-love, because our life shouldn't be led while we're in conflict with ourself. So, you know, a good way to see what the Lover's card could represent is, you know, if you put into your mind, say, one of your biggest regrets or shames or guilts, do that for me. You know, even if you're a Virgo or not a Virgo, put into your mind one of your biggest regrets, shames, or guilts. What would you tell somebody else if they felt the same way about that circumstance? Now, here's what I know about Virgos, because my mama is a Virgo, and I got a best friend that's a Virgo, and Virgo energy is really judgy. It's really judgy. It's idealistic. They want the best. They want the absolute best for themselves and their family, their community. They expect a lot. But, if Virgos are judgy, they don't judge anybody nearly as harshly as they judge themselves. And so when I bring you this energy of like, hey, what would you tell somebody else in your position? That's coming into that self-love. That's coming into that better balanced conversation with ourselves. And I think that's really what the Lover's card represents for me. Okay. So Virgos, be kind to yourself. Don't judge yourself too harshly. Let's go with Libra. They're telling me 11 cards in. So hold on one second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Here's our Libras. The Emperor. Okay. Usually this has like big Aries energy. The Emperor is authority. It's giving. There's another major arcana card. I hope you enjoy my cheeky approach to the Divine Masculine. The Divine Feminine exists, and a lot of people have heard about that. But what about the Divine Masculine? How does the Divine Masculine intersect in your life? I think that's something that you should sit with, my Libra friends. And I kind of see the Emperor card as like Santa Claus energy, protective, authoritative, structured. He's on time. He's doing what he needs to do on, Christmas Eve. He's delivering presents, but he's also very giving and very protective. So this is like Divine Masculine or the ideal masculine. What does that mean for you? Whether you're a man or a woman or otherwise, masculine energy flows through us all, as does feminine energy. And how can we bring that into balance? That's an important question for us all. So the Emperor is a very active energy. So Libras, I'm going to say to you, as we're talking about this theme of waiting for things to happen versus making them happen, Libras, if you have something that you want done, go do it. Don't wait for others. Don't wait for it to fall in your lap. Don't wait for you to wake up one morning and have it there. Go out and do it. Libras can be very indecisive. They can see all of the options and they can see all of the ways to look at things. But eventually they gotta do the thing. So I think a good expression for Libras right now with the Emperor card is don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Because if you wait for perfect, you might not ever accomplish the good. All right, let's look at Scorpio. Scorpio, 5 cards in from this end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's Scorpio. Here we have the Page of Swords. Okay. So the Page of Swords, now here is an energy of the mind. And I love how in tarot, the swords represent the mind. Made him a little screwdriver guy because, we gotta fix things with our mind. Okay. If you don't use a sword with skill and grace, you're gonna hurt yourself or others. If you don't use your mind with skill and grace, you're gonna hurt yourself or others. Scorpio, how can you use your mind with skill and grace right now in this part of your life so you're not hurting yourself or other people? Now, the thing about the mind, and I don't think a lot of people realize this, is the mind repeats back to itself what it's been taught. So if we're ever caught up in self-hatred or self-loathing or anything like that, it's because we learned it externally. Our mind is just repeating back to us what it's been taught. It's the part of ourselves that learned the ABCs in the English language. So this is about using your mind with skill and grace and seeing your mind as not yourself, not your identity, but as a tool. How can you see your mind as a tool? So that's the Page of Swords. Scorpios, you fiery, fiery signs, use your mind with skill and grace to create the reality you want to live in. Okay. Sagittarius, I cannot believe it. 17 cards in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay. Sagittarius, the Fool. Take your leap of faith. Okay, have faith that things are going to be all right. And I see this as, having faith in the universe, having faith that things are going to work out, not from like a naive place, but from a hopeful place. Like the world and, the earth grows food for us all. The thing that messes that up is systems, organizations, and corporations. This is also about taking a leap of faith. So if you had to take a leap of faith, my fool, you have to ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? So Sagittarius is a big fiery, forward-moving energy. It's the centaur, it's the archer, it's the adventurer. The Fool card represents to me that leap of faith and like asking yourself, what's the worst that can happen? So let's say, you're single and you're looking to mingle, but you've had trauma in the past. Well, you have to ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? You're going to end up single again? If being single again is the worst thing that can happen, and that's what you are right now, how could you not take a leap of faith? Or, if you're working for somebody and you want to start a business, what's the worst that can happen if you try to start that business? You just go back to work for somebody else, and if that's the worst that you have going on, like if that's the worst that can happen, and that's your status quo, how can you not take a leap of faith? Sagittarius, dream big, and trust in the universe to help you get to where you want to be. Not from a naive place, again, from a hopeful place. And here's that theme. Co-create it. Don't wait for it to fall in your lap. Co-create it. Go and get it. Okay. Capricorn. Okay. The Four of Swords. Okay. So Capricorn. It's time for some rest. The Four of Swords comes up as a reminder that we have to rest ourselves or we are going to wreck ourselves. Rest ourselves or we're going to wreck ourselves. This is a place of withdrawal and seclusion and isolation, perhaps even a little vacation, perhaps a 3-day weekend, perhaps some time off, perhaps of getting away from people. What I've noticed about, Capricorn is a very dark energy, earthy energy, wintry energy. And what I was thinking about, like right now with the heat in the summer, it feels like people are going a little cuckoo. I think summer energy has something to do with like people feeling stressed. There's a lot of active energy. And I think Capricorns need to withdraw and give themselves that quiet time before they wreck themselves. Okay, that's the Four of Swords. Let's get into Aquarius energy. My lovely, bizarre Aquarius friends. Where are you? Right here. The devil. Right? The devil. Don't fear anything, Aquarius. But the devil for this card, how can the devil be advice? So the devil can stand for fear with a capital F, but it also can stand for the material side of us. And, we also have to remember that one part of us is an animal. That, let's not get too awkward about it because we're all adults. There's a sexual side to most people. The devil card reminds us to like feed ourselves in a healthy way, to sex ourselves in a healthy way. Aquarius, you might have to get your freak on. Like you might have to get your freak on a little bit. This is that, devilish, tricky little devil part. And I know many Aquarius have that in them. So how can you lean into your inner little devil? If we got a devil on one shoulder and an angel on another, how can we let them speak to us in a balanced way? Because, one thing that I'm not about in this world is purity culture. Oh my God, we have to be pure of flesh. Oh, we don't. Like, we should not be nasty. But, like, that doesn't mean we have to be celibate or, abstain from the pleasures of life. What are the pleasures that you're missing? And how can you give them to yourself while staying in balance, right? Because that's one of the principles of our world. We've got to stay in balance. Okay. Pisces. Fellow Pisces, I know it's difficult to be a Pisces sometimes because we encapsulate all of the energies of the Zodiac. It's weird. I'm going to pull this card, but I also want to talk about why I think being a Pisces can be a superpower. Okay. Three of Pentacles. Three of Pentacles is teamwork. Now, I have a hard time asking for help. I have a hard time leaning into other people. I'm a very solitary figure. I'm very like do it myself. The Three of Pentacles is, you know, and I made them little shields here. If you can lean into teamwork and into other people helping you, you can build bigger things. And see, here's something for my solitary Pisces. I think that we carry an ocean within us, and I think that ocean can be a superpower. That when we feel anger or harsh emotions, or we experience something that's deep and disturbing, we can let it settle into that deep darkness that is our inner ocean. But the Three of Pentacles is building for the future with the wisdom of the past. Now, for me, I'm always building for the future. I'll pause here and say I have an Oracle deck coming out in August, and another one in September, and another book in October. Whoa! I got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm always building for the future. And I do have friends and loved ones that are helping me along the way. So, Pisces, remember to lean into the help of other people. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I know a lot of us are like that, but don't be afraid to ask for help. Okay. Let's lean into Aries energy. My dad's in Aries. Now we have the Seven of Cups. Okay. Seven of Cups is about illusion and mystery. To me, it's the card of the thing you think is good for you is bad. The thing you think is bad for you is good. For me, that's coffee. Like coffee, most people think is good for them. It drives me up the wall, tweaks me out. The Seven of Cups is a card of mystery and illusion. So I would encourage Aries to sit with, you know, especially around the fear response that you have around something. What are you scared to do right now? Because that might actually be the thing that you need to do. Are you scared to reach out to somebody? Are you scared to tell somebody what you think? Are you scared to take the next step in a relationship or a situation? The thing you think is bad for you, the thing you're scared of, is actually the thing that is good for you. That's what the Seven of Cups tells me. Don't get too caught up in the illusion of that paradoxical thinking. Like, oh my God, it's so bad for me. Because it actually might be the good thing. It's like, might actually be why you're feeling that thing over and over and over again. All right. Taurus. My son's a Taurus. My sister's a Taurus. I got a friend that's a Taurus. The Nine of Pentacles. Okay. So, the Nine of Pentacles is one of my favorite cards. And it's a card of being at home in the body, being at home in the spirit. It's a card about loving the earth. So Taurus, earth energy. You know, I kind of see this as the card of the Virgin. And let me explain to you what that means. Before the word virgin got co-opted by the patriarchy to mean sexual purity, it meant a woman whole unto herself. She didn't need a partner. She didn't need anybody to take care of her. She was whole. She was independent. She could do it by herself. Now, this kind of stands in the way of like what I was just telling Pisces. You know, make sure that you're asking for help. For you right now, I think, Taurus, you got to know that you are complete and whole as you are. I really do think that that's an appropriate place for you to stand. Stand in your powers, knowing that you are a healthy, strong individual just as you are. And perhaps you have all the tools right now to accomplish the thing that you want. We should always be learning. We should always be growing. But the Nine of Pentacles talks about being at home in your body, knowing yourself. Now, earlier I was talking, I think, maybe to the Geminis. I'm not sure. No, with the Lover's card about how it's important to love ourselves, but not be in love with ourselves. Well, this card, I think, reminds us that it's okay to be sure of yourself. It's not okay to be full of yourself. To have a sense of confidence that doesn't leak over into a sense of conceitedness. It's funny, I just posted a quote on my personal Facebook page today from little Richard, who said, "I'm not conceited, I'm confident." I love that energy, and that's the energy that Taurus needs to have right now. And finally, our Gemini friends. Now, Geminis, here's something I gotta say. Okay? And don't take this personally. Geminis, you lovely people. But, boy, you gotta be balanced, because there is no more reckless a force in this world than I've seen than an imbalanced Gemini. A Gemini who is not at peace with oneself, ooh, you can really wreck some shit. You can really wreck some shit. And this is why, you know, the Gemini twins, they need to like each other. They need to be at peace, because if they're not, boy oh boy, they're gonna wreck some shit. There's wreckage happening. So let's take a look at the card of Gemini's need. Ooh, okay. 10 of Swords. Right. You like how I put? You like how I made him the 10? Those 10 points on his antlers. Okay. Remember how I said swords represent the mind? If you don't use the mind with skill and grace, well, you're gonna hurt yourself or others. I love the 10 of Swords energy because the 10 of Swords talks about how. God, that's a good looking card. Oh my gosh, I love that card. Okay. So it talks about death, you know, like the finale. When we reach a 10 in tarot, it means the cycles are over. This is saying goodbye to a version of yourself that no longer serves you. You know, we have, like, for instance, I'm 46. I would not want to be the person that I was when I was 36. I would not want to be the person that I was at 26 or 16. Those people are gone. Those people are, you know, goodbye. And now here we are stepping into a different, brighter, better, stronger, smarter version of ourselves. Now, Geminis are air signs. This is an air card. The swords represent air. Okay, so Geminis, take care of that mind and maybe say goodbye to a version of yourself that is no longer suiting you. And how do you do that? Maybe, you know, light a candle. Right? Like, I'm a big fan of lighting tea lights and saying a prayer over it. Like, light a candle and say, ancestors, spirits, help me say goodbye to the version that no longer serves my best interests. To my pain, my anxiety, let me walk forward. Ask for help. Ask for help to finalize this chapter in your life and to step forward into a new version that's healthier, better, and stronger. So, I'm a big fan of these cards. I'm a big fan of these cards. Look at the 8 of Wands. I'm just going to show them off for a moment. Get my little Temperance card. Okay. So, man, the Sun card. Anyways, I'm going to stop, pat myself on the back, and let you get back to it. I want to thank you for everything. If you're local, Sunday, June 22nd, right here at Deep Earth Arts, the Goblin Market, where you can get your hands on one of these decks. You can pre-order them or order them on my website at joshsimons.com/vitamin joy. And no matter what you do, no matter where you're at, no matter what your sign is, make sure you're getting that vitamin joy in, because it ain't going to fall in your lap. And you don't want to waste your one precious life being jaded and bitchy and judgy. All my love to you out there in this weird, strange world. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.